Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nazarene Veronica and today I'm back with another live. Woo! Keep doing them recently because I do actually really enjoy them for some reason. I didn't think I would, but I do. I love, seeing your comments and just being able to basically react with you guys. It's so much more fun than reacting on my own, talking to myself. So, today, like I said in my Instagram videos, which you may not have watched, but I am going to be reacting to mainly videos talking about OnlyFans, corn, and just basically the degeneracy of young people nowadays, because, I mean, it's very clear to see that we are almost reverting instead of growing and becoming more and more advanced. It seems like we're going back, and it's just so sad to see. It's really, really sad to see. But the first video is called "Her Christian Dad Supports Her OnlyFans Career, but Andrew Confronts Her." That is so disgusting. And I mean, if you are a Christian and you support your daughter having an OnlyFans career, then you're not really a Christian, in my opinion. But I mean, I can't really say that, but I did. I just did. Because how can you support your child in literally being a degenerate? I don't know. Something doesn't sit right with me about this. But let's take a look at the video. So yeah, I will just play it now. Let me know what you guys think.
You do OnlyFans as well. Do your parents know? Supportive, not supportive?
So my mom knows. I actually just told her about the OnlyFans. She's been known that I'm a dancer since I started. My stepdad knows I'm a dancer, but he doesn't really, he doesn't know about the OnlyFans just because he has a pretty antiquated view on, you know, the internet's there forever and safety and stuff like that. So he doesn't really.
When you say antiquated view, what do you mean?
I think it's just a boomer / Gen X perspective that.
What perspective is that? What is the antiquated perspective?
Yeah, that you shouldn't post that stuff on the internet.
Just like conservative?
I guess that would be conservative.
And is that antiquated or is that?
I mean, I would.
It's definitely more common amongst older populations.
Wait, so your parents, do they know that you're? They said they know that you dance,
Her mom does. Yeah, so they both know that I dance. My mom knows that I do OnlyFans. Okay. My biological dad does not know either. As far as I'm aware.
And is your mom? Is she supportive?
Yes, she's all about me getting my money.
She's all about you making your money. What about your dad?
Biological dad or stepdad?
Both.
Well, my stepdad also doesn't.
I don't understand how you can be a mother and have a daughter that literally makes money out of showing herself naked. How can you support that? How can you support that? I would be absolutely mortified if my daughter was so open about doing this as a job. Even if she just did it as a job in general, I would be mortified and I would feel like I failed as a parent. I would feel like I completely spent all those years putting energy and work and time into raising a human being. All of that's wasted. What did I do it for? I don't know, because I've got a degenerate of a daughter who makes money out of showing her body and is proud of it and thinks it's a talent or something. How can you support that? That's embarrassing. Oh my goodness.
Really care as long as I'm safe. That's like the main thing for him. And the same thing for my mom, but you know, he's also wants me to be self-sufficient and stuff like that. So that's like really their main concern is my self-sufficiency.
Couldn't you be self-sufficient though without?
It's a lot more difficult. So I did like, you know, as a young person, the only options that I have, you know, for a job is entry-level stuff and then also like fast food work and stuff like that. I could work my way, you know, as a manager in a fast food restaurant, but that's really the highest up position that I could get.
And then Nala, I mean, I think you maybe talked a bit.
So my dad, my entire family knows. My mom and I don't speak anymore. She's very religious, conservative. We've never had a good relationship throughout my entire life. It didn't even matter when I was a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
my dad found out and everything, very just supportive of me. He is still a Christian. He loves me. Me and my dad have had a really good relationship throughout the years. I financially support my family because they're retired now and have like kids who have kids. And like my nieces and nephew need like things sometimes. So I love to give money to my family because, you know, I have it and they're still part of my family. Like I care about them. So even if I didn't speak to them, I wouldn't care. Like I made the decisions I made and I'm being very smart about it. And obviously I know that OnlyFans is not the end result. I went to college to be a dental hygienist and I worked in an orthopedic office scheduling surgeries and stuff. I had big girl jobs with big girl benefits that didn't pay the bills. So I'm like, listen, I have huge pursuits like snowboarding. Snowboarding's fucking expensive. I want to be tutored in Japanese. That's expensive. Like I wanted things that I couldn't achieve with a normal job and like something that men think that I should be doing, you know? So me pursuing this OnlyFans career gave me so much freedom to expand as a human being. And I was like, wow, like this is what I want to do. And again, this won't last forever.
Just out of curiosity, you couldn't have gone snowboarding and learned Japanese without doing OnlyFans?
What I'm telling you is that it costs money that I didn't have. Doing things like being a surgery scheduler, working like I said, I went to college. Like I got my.
This is so sad. She's basically saying everything is about money to her because she's literally sacrificing her dignity, her humility, her sacred body. She's sacrificing that for money because clearly that's more important to her. I personally would rather, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I'd rather live in a hut with nothing but fire as heating. No bills need to be paid for that, by the way. I'd rather have very, very little food and I'd rather live off basically nothing than sacrifice all of those things that she's sacrificed. And at least I'll have my dignity at the end of it, to be honest. So yeah, this is very, very sad to watch. And I feel really sorry for her because she's just lost. And that's all I can see, just lost. Someone said earning 30k working 24/7 in a store versus earning 60k working 1 hour a week on OnlyFans. Easy choice. No, I mean, I can see why it would be an easy choice for degenerates who don't really care about losing themselves to something like pornography. That's such a weird word when you say it that way. I can see how it could be an easy choice, but to anyone who's got a conscience and who actually respects themselves in any way, it's not, well, it's also an easy choice, but the other way around. They would choose to do the hard work and earn less money. And I myself am included in that. I would never, ever, ever stoop so low as to show my body to randoms for money. Never, never, never. And like I said, I'd rather literally live off nothing than do that. So, but there are some people who have the same sentiment as me. I've met them, and we're not all bad. It's just like what I watch is just constant sadness. I'm like, oh, why is the world coming to this?
Little degree and everything, and that got me nowhere.
Especially with this economy right now.
It's like, so bad. I could not live in California doing what I did. Absolutely not. It's so bad. And then I was like, I have to get a second job as a female who doesn't have a boyfriend to, I wasn't being supported by anyone. So I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm really good at having a presence online. And I pursued so much. I don't just do OnlyFans. And OnlyFans is really like my content for OnlyFans has slowed down so that I could pursue bigger things that led me down different financial routes. So again, this was a starter, not an ender.
Can I ask one question about to all the girls that do OnlyFans? Because Lord knows y'all make a lot of money, and I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I make jokes at work, and I'm like, I work obscene amount of hours to not make anywhere near as much money. But there is a part of me that's also wondering, like you like you said, you can't do this forever.
No,
and when you go back into, let's say, civilian life, you're going to look at everything and be like, I'm not going to accept any of this because you're going to make a eighth of what you made.
So it's not about that. What I'm trying to do is set myself.
I almost want to answer on.
You're gonna make money. No. But
because
the point of making
if you're smart,
the point of making that much money.
I was about to say, like,
I'm not going back to a normal job.
If you're smart,
but that's the whole point.
If you're smart,
so you're investing.
Not
you're
every girl is.
You're investing.
No, they're
you're
not.
buying really.
No. Hold on. I think, I mean, perhaps you don't have any history on Nala. Nala, let me ask you a question. If you wanted to retire today, could you?
1,000,000%. I could have retired a year ago.
So it's, I mean, you're not familiar with Nala, but I think asking her that specific. Granted, there are women who do OnlyFans who they will face that challenge, but I think Nala here is an exceptional
You're
earner.
an exception for it.
Well, it's just so much more about growing yourself as a person and not just growing and making content and taking pictures of yourself. That doesn't help you do anything bigger. And then when you're making this much money as such a young person, you're like, wow, this is the time to be an adult. You need to set up for your future self. Like, you need to think of like the future Nala and be like, you know what? She'd want to be comfortable too. And she would want to continue sending her parents money. Yeah. I know that for a fact because I don't feel like I'm changing anytime soon. You know, so that was the biggest purpose of this. And I felt so steady in my decision making through this and financial, just like maneuvering. I'm so thankful that I did what I did.
I have a quick question. If you went to your parents and you asked them, you said, you know, I have a choice. I can either quit doing all of this tomorrow, right, and go get a job for like a tenth of this, or I can continue to do this and send you money. Which one do you think they would ask?
My mom would say, absolutely quit. My dad, he'd be like, oh my God, no, why would you ever quit?
Your dad would say that?
My dad would say that I send money to my dad so that he can be comfortable with like their family.
He's a pastor?
No, he's not a pastor anymore. They stopped being a pastor when I was like 18.
Okay, but he was, and he retained his faith, right?
He did. I'm his daughter, though. You know, I'm not just some stranger. He's like, you know what? If I want her in my life.
Doesn't that make it worse? Like, wouldn't that make it worse?
Not. Don't you have to accept your kids for who they
are?
Yeah. What?
And
so
what?
No.
So wait.
Guys, one mic at a time.
Are you
one
just
mic at a
saying
time.
that, like,
I'll let you come in.
Go ahead. I'll answer the
if
question.
you had a kid and they were doing OnlyFans, what, you just disown them because they made a bad decision?
Until they clean their life up, yeah.
You're a bad parent.
Wow, that's
my family would have.
It's true. It's tough love. And you need to show that in order to evoke a change in your child. Otherwise, they'll just carry on doing what they're doing. And if you truly love them, you will do that. It'll be really hard, obviously, because you love them so much. You don't want to I wouldn't say disown, I would say distance yourself from them until they make that link that their behavior is causing you to have to remove yourself from their life temporarily. And if they truly respect you, which hopefully by the time that you've raised them to that age, they will, if you've raised them correctly, then, you know, they will make those changes in order to have you back in their life again because they'll appreciate you and respect you. But if you don't make that hard decision to remove yourself temporarily, they will carry on doing what they're doing. And if you're a parent and you truly love your child, you will give them that tough love in order to help them to grow and to, you know, not become a degenerate, which this lady's father, and actually the mother has done that, but the father is not doing. And how can you call yourself a Christian but enable your child to show her body for a living to random men? It's just so weird. Someone said the fact there's a whole demographic of men, if you can call them that, who enable these degenerate women is alarming. It's very, very true. This isn't just a woman problem. You know, the whole reason they're doing it is because there are men who watch it and who pay for it and who ask for this. So they wouldn't be doing it if there weren't men who wanted it and who had like a who pay for this to happen. So it is just as much a man problem as it is a woman problem because, yeah, there are a whole demographic of men who do pay for it and who do enable this kind of behavior. So, Yeah, people like to just blame women about this, but it's not just a woman problem, definitely not. But they are obviously, I would say, the majority of the problem. Someone said, by the way, her dad is just as shameless as her. I'm fine with my daughter being an online prostitute because it brings me money. Exactly. Like, if I was this family, I would literally say, I don't want any of your money. I don't care if you give me millions. I don't care if you give me billions. I don't want any of your money because it comes from a disgusting place. And I don't want to have money and spend money thinking, oh yeah, my daughter got this by being a hoe. It would bring me to tears. I could not do it. Someone said, if these girls are in poverty, OnlyFans is essentially an escape route. I agree. It is an escape route, but again, I would rather be in poverty than have an impoverished soul. That's a great way of putting it. But it's true, I'd rather literally be in poverty. But yeah, not everyone's like me, clearly.
Absolutely.
My family would
terrible
100% disown me.
Okay, well then,
100%.
well, what about you're a bad kid?
No,
Okay,
you
we're allowed to make
Guys, please.
Yeah,
one at a
you
time.
can- you can-
One person speaking at a time. Go
you
ahead.
can think your
then
kid
you guys
is
can talk.
bad.
Go ahead.
You can think your kid is bad and disagree with their life choices, sure, but as a parent, you're supposed to be like a guiding figure and a loving figure, and part of
they've
that is not
rejected-
abandoning them in their time of need.
They've-
And
what
if
do
you
you
want,
mean?
if you
They're
want to
giving
talk
you the
about
middle finger.
Christianity, if you want to talk about Christianity, if you want to talk about like God and Jesus and the countless stories there are in the
Wait.
Bible of like still
I
accept.
gotta respond to this. I
Okay,
gotta
yeah,
respond to
okay.
this. Okay, listen. First of all, let's dive into this.
A lot of non-Christians like to say, oh, if you are a Christian, then you have to forgive everything because Jesus forgave everything. And, you know, Jesus showed this sort of spirit of forgiveness and you're supposed to follow in Jesus's footsteps because, you know, Jesus is obviously the prime example of a human being and how we're supposed to be. I get that, but you're not forgiving your child. You're loving them enough to give them tough love. And Jesus gave tough love a lot. Like, you know, the time where he was so angry at the sin in the temple and he overturned the tables in anger because the merchants were selling things in the temple and that wasn't allowed. And it was a sin to sell in a temple where it's just for praying and it's God's house, isn't it? So Jesus was so angry that he overturned the tables in anger. He literally threw them in the air and threw all the money on the floor. You know, Jesus was angry at times and he showed love by being tough and by sort of committing these acts of anger to show them how God would feel at what they're doing. And that's exactly what you should do as a parent. If you truly love your children, you should do the exact same thing. Tough love. And teach them lessons by being tough sometimes. Because there's a time for being soft and, you know, being completely all forgiving and sweet. And then there's a time when it gets like this and your child's literally showing their body for a living where you have to show tough love. I don't understand her point. Because you're not, you know, you can forgive your child whilst also showing tough love and removing yourself from their life temporarily. It doesn't have to be forever. It's until they make that choice to revert on their decision. Anyway.
It's just a little bit, okay? My daughter calls me up and she's like, hey, Dad, you know, I'm still going to be doing OnlyFans, but I'm kind of thinking about not doing it, right? I would say, yes, absolutely, don't do it. In her situation, she's like, no, he would totally be cool with it.
You're saying you would disown your child. You're saying you would say, be gone, child.
What was the context? The context is until what?
The context was we asked the question was straightforwardly asked. If you found out your daughter had OnlyFans, what would you do?
And I said,
you were saying,
until she cleaned up, I would not be participating with her or allow her in my life.
You said you would.
It's probably easier
just
for
own
them.
her.
Why is that awful?
Because you're not supporting your child
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm not supporting
You don't have
bad,
to support
horrible
what you're
decisions that they're
doing,
making.
but you shouldn't
I'm making
disown
them
them.
face
A
consequences.
decision doesn't make them as a whole, though.
Yeah, the thing
You all know better. You
Nala-
literally told me you know for sure what you're
didn't
doing
say
is bad, and you're just going to do it anyway. And then you're like,
Who
Dad,
said it's
support it.
bad,
It's
though?
crazy.
Who said it's bad though?
That's
Because
crazy
I
to
didn't
me.
say
Even
it was
Nala,
bad.
even what Nala said, she said her dad doesn't support. She might not support what she does, OnlyFans, whatever. But he's like, you know what? You're my daughter, and if that's what you want to do with your life, that doesn't.
Yeah,
mean
but are
I'm,
you
I'm saying go fucking do that.
Yeah, but are
Go
you
do
sure that this
OnlyFans,
isn't
but
just
I love
cope?
you, and I'm still gonna be in your
Are
life.
you sure that's not just cope? Because the same thing could happen to you.
Well, that's not true at all, though.
Yeah, isn't it though? Isn't it
Because-
really cope? You're just upset because your parents might actually do this to you. They might make you feel the consequences
Well,
of
then
this,
let
right?
them. And then what? You're just an
You don't
independent
care.
without parents
No,
that don't.
So
give
if
a
you
fuck?
don't care if they
I care.
disown
I
you,
do.
why
Of
would you
course
say
I
they're a
care.
bad parent?
No,
No,
of
what-
course I care.
I'm
I-
calling you a bad
Wait,
parent.
One at a time. One at
Do
a
you
time.
think
one
your
at a time.
daughter?
Wait,
Do you
you
think
said
your
I
daughter
would-
would care if you abandoned her?
Yeah,
Very
it's
simple.
not abandoning. You're
You're
abandoning
saying
an
you can
adult.
disown her.
An adult?
Yes, you can. There is no age that you can not abandon your
Stuck
child.
with your kids when they're 60 and making bad choices
You
in
don't
your
have to
80s?
support
What?
them.
Nobody
Nobody
said
said you have
bad
to.
decisions.
Okay,
No, no.
You don't have to
One
say.
at a time,
Oh,
one at a time.
okay. You don't have
One
to
at a
say
time.
every decision they do is good. You don't have to support every decision they do. But that is very distinct than disowning your own child. And
Do you
I
know-
hope we can all agree.
Do you know
with
what
that
a
here.
limit is? Do you
Yeah,
know what,
you're
do you know
allowed
what-
to have. Let's make
Stop
a
being so
scenario.
emotional and be logical
She's
for
been-
5
I
seconds.
I am being
Can I-
logical.
Here,
You
go
know
ahead.
what's up.
Go ahead.
For me, so my mom, she's extremely Catholic. She grew up in the Philippines, like the only place where divorce is illegal. And her, she first found out, obviously there was this.
I want to try to reel
I have a
other
big
people
question
into
though.
the
For me, it's
conversation.
like, what if you committed adultery against your wife, and then your kid found out about that and disowned you because
Well, should
you
my
did
wife
that?
abandon me? Should my wife abandon me when I commit adultery and do something she doesn't
I'm talking
like?
about the daughter.
No,
Is it
answer my
right for-
question. Hang on. This
But
is
you
a
didn't answer
perfect.
my
My
question.
wife. So
Is
my
it a question with a question?
Yeah,
now?
yeah. I'll answer.
okay.
So I'll answer. I'll answer. Then you answer. So the answer is yes.
wait,
I
wait.
would. But
Sorry. I did say that she could go, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Good. So I was saying is I feel like, so me and my mom were distant, at a point when she found out, but then I feel like as a mother, like she just understands, one, from her for a Catholic perspective, it's not mine, it's that everyone has their own sins. She has no place to judge me because she has her own things. And then the other thing is she noticed, like when we're talking about bad life choices and your kid coming back when their life's cleaned up, my mom realized I was always just on a better path when I had her love in my life. Like when I was distant from her, then I was going further into things that she didn't want to see me in, because just having your parents' love is just kind of motivating. Having your parents' acceptance, any goal you have of your kid just doing better for themselves will be easier when they know that their parent loves them. Mm-hmm. Even if I don't support this, I don't want to hear about this, but I still love you. Maybe you barely talk to them every day, but okay, for me, I'm diabetic. Do you think my parents would never? Yeah, they would never stop giving me insulin. I could have done anything in the world. They would always make sure I have my insulin.
Yeah.
We're not-
Like certain things. You see what I'm saying? I know that's a different extreme, but it's kind of like
Who's
it's like
Doc Vinably donated $200. If my daughter did of, that means I failed her as a father. She would do of only if I am dead or in jail. Your fathers are morally weak men.
They are morally weak men.
I guess, could I ask you, who do you think is the example?
Well, I mean, you can say fuck you, but he's right. Look, the chatter's right.
Can I ask you a question?
Hang on.
How
Let
do
me
you
finish
know?
my
Because
point.
you know our
your
fathers.
side.
I'm going to tell.
One time.
I'm going to tell you, right? You do have to be a morally weak man if they know. Like in your case, maybe not, because your dad doesn't know. Okay, but a lot of people that I've talked to here, their dads do know, and they're just
Right,
like,
but we're adults.
"Give me
My dad doesn't
money,
like it.
We're
and
adults,
and we're
able
good."
to make our own decisions.
my dad doesn't like it.
Just let me finish the point. I'm almost done. Okay. Yeah, I think that that's a moral weakness to say, I will enable you. I will enable you to do
enabling.
this threshold breaking thing, especially from a Christian perspective. It's insane. I don't know why anybody would do it.
It's
I
not
would say,
enabling.
listen.
You know why? Because real Christians love everyone.
So then so then why not just make everything
I love
permissible?
the fact that you're like, I'll disown my daughter. That's not.
So
love.
everything's permissible.
I didn't think that.
There's a
like,
difference between.
Wait, no.
deleting someone
Everything's
is not
permissible.
permissible.
No. Okay, but all social behaviors, all sexual behaviors, all everything, Christians must permit that.
Who's the example in Christianity for
Answer the
parenting?
question.
I
Christians must.
feel like.
Ask him that. Who in
I
Christianity?
didn't even get an answer to my
You've given her
question.
an
So it's
answer.
like,
I'm
that's why-
asking you the question. Is all forms of social sexual behavior something which are supposed to be permissible to Christians?
I don't think it should be permissible. I think that you should love no matter what.
So then, if
But
it's
that's
not
not
permissible, permissible, then I'm not giving permission, which means I'm not endorsing it, which means I'm not allowing it, which means I'm totally against it.
But if your kid is an adult, why do you have to allow them to do something?
What do you? I'm not allowing them to.
He would disown.
He would disown
The question I have for you.
What are you talking about?
Who in Christianity is the example for parenting? Who is it?
You mean in which context? Which saints are you talking about?
What?
I'm talking about
There's saints which you can look to as examples in parenting.
Who do you look to as the example for parenting?
As the example
Saint
inside of
underscore
Christianity?
easy
Of course, I
One
look at
sec,
Jesus.
One sec.
Honestly, Nala has a special brand of daddy issues. Every girl has a craving for attention. If she doesn't get it from her dad, she will get by being a thought.
So
Here, I need to.
Yeah, look at Jesus Christ.
Do you want to
of
answer?
course.
But like, I do want to. I have so many notes I have to get through. So go ahead. It sounded like you wanted to say something. So
I feel like a lot of people think that because of what I do, I have daddy issues or mommy issues or whatever the fuck it is. But it's honestly, it's a self-made choice. I didn't go to my dad and be like, should I do this? And he just gave me like all this advice to do it. I came to them, told them, because I wanted to be honest with my parents. They have that reason, they have that decision to make with their kid if they do something like this. You know what I mean? Like whether they want to be in your life or not. I think it's bad parenting if you don't want to be in your kid's life, no matter what they do. I'm not saying if they like delete someone, that's a great, I don't know. I feel like the line is just too broad here.
So let me ask you this. Can you make the judgment and the value-added judgment on what's bad parenting? I have children. Do you have any?
No.
Okay. And then on top of it, from your parents' perspective, you turned out to go off and do OnlyFans and like show your butthole online for money. How's that great parenting? How could you come to me and say what a great parent should do is
I
this?
just think it's
You're the
funny
perfect
that
example
Christianity
of
put me in
everything
such a
that
cage.
nobody
Hold
should
on,
listen
hold
to
on.
for great
Is
parenting.
Christ a terrible parent because like so many of his sons and daughters commit sin? You said Jesus is your example for parenting. Who did Jesus dine with?
This is a hilarious
Who did he dine
argument.
with?
Of course, he died for everybody.
No,
who
who
did
did
he
he
dine
dine
like
with?
eat?
Oh, dine. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Who did he dine with?
In which context? Like his
In
apostles
Matthew
or when?
in the Gospels. Who did
Yeah, he would dine with everybody. He'd dine with sinners. He would dine with
Who
saints.
did he call
would
godless fools and rejected outright?
Okay, just stop.
Who?
Just get to your point.
He
You
called.
should know this.
Well, it's fine if you don't know
should I?
this. The
Well-
people he called godless fools was Pharisees, the leaders of the religion. Whereas in
Okay.
the cases of women who were adulterers, tax collectors,
The ones he told to sin no
lepers,
more?
He told them to sin no more,
Sin
but
no
he
more.
still dined with them.
And he told them to sin no more. He said,
I
go and
agree,
sin
but
no
disowning
more.
is not the same thing as saying sin no more.
Disowning until a behavior is modified.
No.
That's behavior modification.
No, it's not.
How do you? Oh,
there's a
okay.
million
So-
ways
He
to
didn't
not. Hold on,
condone
hold on,
their
hold on,
behavior.
hold on.
Let her finish.
There's a million ways to condone an action. How do you even reconcile the prodigal son when the father, as the son walks home, says, "You've been my son the whole time." He never removed it. The son left, and the father allowed him to live out the consequences of that. But the father didn't disown
first
him.
of all,
the
that's-
father didn't send him away, and when
yeah,
he came back, he threw him a massive party.
Yes,
Oh,
the
the
parable.
prodigal child.
The
prodigal
well,
son.
the parable
Yes.
prodigal son. But here's the thing: when you're
This is such a stupid argument because I get what she's saying. Yeah, Jesus dined with everybody and he dined with sinners and he dined with prostitutes and he dined with, evil people who've probably murdered people. But he told them to go and sin no more. He told them he doesn't agree with their behavior. He said it's sin. So he is clearly very openly saying, listen, I'm going to dine with you, but you're a sinner and you need to change your behavior. That's tough love. That's telling someone they're in the wrong. I'm not saying disown your child forever, but temporarily until they change the behavior. And that is just a tough love thing a parent does in order to improve their child and to stop them from heading to a very, very dark place, which this lady's already in, unfortunately, because her father was not strong enough. And obviously the mother has temporarily disowned her, but the father is not following through with that as well. And if they both disowned her temporarily, something tells me she would change her behavior and she wouldn't be doing this anymore. But no, he's just taking her money, saying, oh yeah, you can carry on with what you're doing because obviously you're paying me. So it's just a very sad situation because he was not strong enough in that circumstance, unfortunately. But my point was, yes, Jesus dined with sinners, but he told them to go and sin no more. And God, who is our Father, there is a punishment for sinners. And there are some sins that aren't, forgivable. And God punishes people. He loves everyone, yeah, but if you sin too hard and you don't repent and feel remorseful for them, you get punished, you get thrown into hellfire. So for someone who's talking about, a father being completely loving and not ever punishing his children, that's not true, because he does punish children. What happens when you die? And yeah, she should really address that, but she's not.
Looking at what happened in the results of the prodigal son, the father did not go where the son was committing all these heinous acts.
We're not saying
stop.
We're not saying you should start an OnlyFans. That's what we're saying.
We're
not saying join OnlyFans. We're saying you don't disown your child.
You're all spurging. Calm down. Let me finish my point. Okay. Dad didn't go where he was. Dad wasn't going and trying to pull him back. He wasn't doing any of this. He was saying, I don't endorse what it is that you're doing, what you're going after. Yes, he did say that. He told him it was a bad idea to leave.
That's a very big difference between saying
he
that
told
he
him it was a bad idea. Now, he left anyway after breaking the fortune, and then when he came back humble with his tail between his legs, crying his eyes out, did his father say, You've now returned to me, the prodigal son, and now all is forgiven.
You have always is the key word here. You've always been
They're
my
still
son.
always your kid.
Not if you disown them.
That doesn't mean that you have to.
Not if you disown them.
That doesn't mean you have to enable
is,
it.
In the cases that did he not go with them to go and slut it up with whores and blow money on crack? No, he didn't. But she's not saying, hey, Dad, come do OnlyFans with me. You should
My
start
dad
it
is nowhere in my life.
Yeah, but my point is that again, when he came back humble, when he came back correct, when he came back from doing the horrible things that he was doing, then Dad said, yes, welcome back in. You were always my son. Of course, I never stopped loving you. But he was not endorsing all the things
At no
that
point
the kid,
was he disowned,
Let me finish. He was not endorsing all the things the kid was doing. He was not going out of his way to make sure that the kid had additional money to continue sinning where he was at. He wasn't doing any of that.
I'm not saying any of these things. The issue is that if Christ is the example for parenting and he loves you every single step of the way,
he's not the only example.
Disowning your child is the opposite of that thing. Now, I am fine with parents getting to decide if they don't want to support that. They tell them explicitly. I would be fine with a relationship. My parents are Christian, my brother's gay. I'm fine with them regularly being
Can the Catholic Church excommunicate people?
Yes, but the Catholic Church is in no way the same thing as a
parent. So if the Catholic Church excommunicates somebody, are you saying that what they're doing...
Why do they excommunicate?
Let me finish.
Hold on. That's an extremely important question.
We're getting... Stop. Okay, make a final point and I'm moving on.
I'll make it quick. If you make an excommunication, why is it that they're not turning their back on their children?
Okay, an excommunication at an apostolic level of the Catholic Church is about godless fools. It's about Pharisees. That is why the Eastern Orthodox was removed. They broke up with because they thought that you got... No,
it was the other way around.
I know you guys broke up with us after, but that's just not true. The reason that they were excommunicated...
You're a Catholic?
I'm not a Catholic, but I'm theologically
come on. You're not a Catholic.
Yeah. I'm more Catholic than I am Eastern Orthodox.
20 seconds,
The reason that churches excommunicate is because they're violating the nature of God himself, not because they're doing a sin that they dislike. It's extremely different, and these types of sins, like blaspheming the Holy Spirit, is in no way comparable to moral sins or virtue sins, which maybe OnlyFans is moral sins, or maybe it's a virtue sin. I'm not sure where it falls specifically, but acting like the church can excommunicate so parents can excommunicate their children is a bastardization of why the Catholic Church does this in the first place.
So let's look at this logically to what you're saying, not what the distinction distinctions in the reasoning are. Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to respond. What the distinction in the reasonings are. Let's look at this from a holistic. You claimed, listen, because Jesus Christ said thing X, it's not proper for you to then say, nope, I'll walk away from this. But it is proper for the Catholic Church to do the same thing under the same circumstances. And your only claim to this is to say that they rejected that they rejected Christ. So the same thing happens exactly
sin is
here.
not rejecting Christ.
Oh, it can be. me rejecting Christ.
Yes, blaspheming,
Blaspheming the name of
the
God.
Holy
Yes.
Spirit.
But here's the
is.
thing.
But what the Pharisees did was bad enough. These are disanalogous, and you're being dishonest. by saying
No, that's not. They're not disanalogous.
Yes,
This is your logic.
No, this is the logic of like
You guys
all of the
can-
theology.
No, it's just your logic.
Okay. Here, wait, interlude. Can we?
Well, that was gross. What do you guys think about that? As a side note, look how little class these women carry themselves with, constantly cussing and trying to shout I think you meant over the hosts. Yeah, it's very true. It just is very telling of the kinds of women that they are, clearly missing something very big in their life, and that is God. Because what really scared me about that video is that the redhead lady, I think her name is Nala or something, I can't remember, but I think it's Nala. Anyway, she was raised in a Christian household with 2 parents who are pastors, and she turned out like that. That's really scary. It's really, really, really scary, because it just shows that you can raise your child in a great environment and expose them to God and show them the truth and, do your best, and then they can turn into that. And it is really, really scary. And I believe that it's because I don't believe she was homeschooled. And I think that if she was homeschooled, she wouldn't be turning into this weird, beastly creature who thinks it's something to be proud of to show your body to random men online for money. I think that you can do your best and you can raise your child in the best way and in the most great environment. But then if you send your child to school, they're exposed to all of this degeneracy daily. And then it just soaks in and they just turn into it. And that is really, really scary, which is why I always, always, always talk about the importance of homeschooling your child, because then it limits the chance of them being exposed to things which could lead them to doing things like this woman is doing, like OnlyFans, for example, or just in general corn videos. Homeschool your children, guys, so that this does not happen. And make sure that you continuously expose them to good morals and let them have some dignity in their lives, because this woman has none. Anyway, let's move on to the next video. So this one is called "She is Catholic but also a corn star." How's that possible? I can't see how that's possible. Anyway, let's see how that works.
There's a guy in the picture, right, Violet? You said you're single.
Yes, I'm single until I'm ready to, get serious on relationship.
Her tits are literally hanging out like any second, and they will literally break free out of that corset and they will be everywhere because they are literally popping out. Come on, she can't even move. If she moves, it's game over for her.
Then I'll start looking, but right now I'm just single and having fun, focusing on my career.
When do you plan on getting serious?
28.
28.
Do you think that you would still be doing adult
28 is a bit late.
content by then, or are you planning to quit that and then find a serious relationship?
Right now I see like I'll probably always be doing adult content in some way, but if
Whoa, wait. So she's asked, when is she going to settle down? 28 was her answer. And then when are you going to stop doing corn work? Oh, I don't think I'll ever stop. So you really, really think that a self-respecting guy is going to settle down with you when you are still showing your body to other guys and actually possibly having sexual intercourse with other guys? You really think that's going to happen? Well, it probably will, to be honest. Like, I'm saying it would never happen, but nowadays, there are just so many simp men who would actually endorse that behavior and allow it to happen. So I guess it could happen, but then it's just sad for her because she hasn't got a self-respecting man who sets correct boundaries and who has actual dignity and wants his woman to himself. That is so sad. Like, I would not be attracted to that kind of man, but I think that is her only option at this point.
I end up in a relationship where that's not like, you know, if they are like, hey, stop doing that, obviously I would quit.
Okay. Okay.
So you've been doing content since you're 18, you're now 23. At any point were you in I mean, it says you never had a boyfriend in that entire period of time, but maybe you were dating a guy for a month, 2 months, 3 months. Have you had that?
No.
Have you had sex with a civilian in the past 6 years?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But you haven't had even like a situationship type of thing?
I mean, yeah, I have people who I've hung out with for a long time and we trust each other.
Translate what hang out means. What does that mean?
We're close, like we have a close relationship, and some of those people help me with photography or some of my work.
But you sleep with them too?
Yes.
Okay. So
depending on, like if I were to, I'm wanting it to be for content and to get it on camera.
Oh, if you sleep with them, you want it to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay. I see.
Gosh.
Okay.
Because it's kind of so sad because she's actually like really pretty. And it's like the potential this girl has, but she's just ruined it. She's ruined herself. She's completely ruined herself forever. This is imprinted on her forever. And even, guys, it's actually so sad. Even like just anyone who meets her now, even if she doesn't be open about it, it's just, you know, there are warning signs which show you that someone's had a very, very high body count, and it will just be very obvious. And this is just imprinted on her forever. She's scarred herself, and it's just sad because she looks like such a sweet girl, and I can see the kind of life that she could have because of how attractive she is. Loads of men would, you know, high value men would have gone for her if she had a little bit more self-respect and actually did not do corn. It's really sad. I feel really, really sad.
Kind of playing a fantasy for me. Like I like working the camera and I like when you're recording, so.
It doesn't suit her, is what I'm trying to say. It does not suit her. This kind of lifestyle does not suit her.
What, a little bit of a fantasy. The fantasy is like is it voyeur? Not exhibitionist kind of?
Sexhibitionist.
Okay. You like to perform for the camera?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So no relationships. Do you think, is it because you just haven't wanted a relationship, or do you feel like the work that you've been doing has made it difficult? Where are you at on that?
Yeah, I just haven't had time to focus on a relationship.
Okay, so but you said at 28, that's when you want to settle down. You want to get married?
Yes, I want to get married and have kids.
Have kids? How many kids do you want to have?
I want 4.
4. Do you think it's going to
This is so sad. I don't know why. I just feel really, really, really sad for her.
Be difficult finding a husband because of the work you've done?
Maybe.
I mean, have you had any experiences with that? Like maybe you were interested in a guy, but he was maybe hesitant because he felt maybe uncomfortable that you had been engaged in making adult content?
No, I actually haven't come across that, which is strange.
You haven't?
You will.
No,
You will.
I haven't. Everyone is very, even like,
it's 'cause
I'll come out of church sometimes because I go to church with my grandma, and like I have people coming out of church like, can I get a picture with you, you know? And so it's...
Sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you really see like different sides of people when you're kind of in sex work.
So what kind of church is
I'm allowed at church, guys. I'm allowed to be there. It's not
doesn't just burn down when you step in. Okay.
I promise.
So you go to church, and the male churchgoers.
I can actually see some shame in her, it makes a difference from the other girls who clearly have no shame and they're really, really proud of what they're doing. it seems like she has a bit of shame and she is slightly embarrassed. That's the kind of feel I get from this. Of course she's allowed in church. Of course, like God, has a lot of forgiveness. And if you do repent for your sins, then, you can get forgiven. Obviously there are some sins where, it's a bit extreme and we don't know. But, of course she is allowed in church, but you got to show repentance for your sins. And I don't think she's fully there yet. But, I do think I can see a bit of embarrassment in her, which is a very good sign, because it's kind of like a telltale sign that she may not stay in this for a long time. And hopefully she can remove herself from this sinful line of work.
Come up to you and they're like, yo, what's up, Violet? I fucking beat
also,
it
I go
to your
I go to
tape.
a Catholic church, so
Catholic? You go to fucking, this shit's happening at a Catholic church. Holy.
Wouldn't you expect it more than a Christian church than a Catholic?
I don't want to expect it at all, to be honest, at any church.
I feel like Catholics are pretty strict.
Yeah, they're very.
Are you Catholic?
Though.
You're Catholic?
Yes, I grew up Catholic. I moved away from my religion when I started doing this.
But you still go to church.
I've come back around to it.
Oh, you've come back?
Yes, yeah.
Recently?
I've kind of come back around to it.
How recently?
A couple of years ago, when I just was going through some things and I found my way back to God, and yeah.
Have you done a confession?
Oh, yes, I have done confession. I did one a few months ago.
What did you say? Are you at liberty to share your confession?
No, I'm not comfortable saying.
Here, I'll just turn this way. Pretend that I'm the, what is it?
No, I face him. He faces me, so.
Oh,
yeah.
Usually there's a booth and there's this kind of semi see-through screen. Okay.
It's a little more comfortable when you're facing them, though.
Awkward. So, but you're Catholic and you go to church, you're practicing, right?
I go with my grandma. I'm not full-on Catholic or anything. Obviously, look at my lifestyle. I'm not a full-on Catholic. I go with my grandma, and I pray. I have a relationship with God, but I'm not a full-on practicing Catholic.
Does your grandma know that you do adult content?
She knows. My whole family knows, and we don't
okay.
really talk about it.
You don't talk about it.
If she has a relationship with God and she prays regularly, the amount of guilt she must feel whilst recording these corn scenes is unreal, because I have some serious guilt when I sin, and because I have that relationship with God, and I have serious guilt when I sin, I can just feel my entire body just cringing, and I just feel horrible and so dark and so unhappy, and I just want to cry, and I hate myself a bit whilst I'm sinning. The amount of guilt she must feel doing this amount of sin that she does, because that is next level sin. I've never sinned like that before. I can't imagine how guilty she must feel if she has a true relationship with God, which she's saying she does. I can't imagine how guilty she must feel whilst filming these scenes, and I don't know how long she can cope with that, because I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
You on good terms with your family?
Yes, love my family.
Okay, and you go to Catholic church with your grandma. Does she Elizabeth, you need to stop your philandering, whoring ways? Does she say that shit to you?
No.
She doesn't? Okay.
How does she react to when you guys are at church and these people approach you asking for pictures? Does she sing?
It's usually when I'm not with her. I'm doing something by myself. It's she knows that people know me, though. Everyone in my family know that people are gonna come up to me and be like, oh, I know you, and call me by a different name. Yeah. But they all support me, and I appreciate that, because
I have a question.
Someone in the comments said she is actually somewhat attractive, which is rare for these types of girls. She could have found a loving husband and started a family, but instead she chose this. No words. I feel the exact same way. Yeah, you just echoed my sentiment earlier. I am so sad for this situation. I don't know why. It's because she's so sweet and gentle and pretty that it feels so wrong. She looks so innocent, and then she has this kind of a line of work. It just feels even more wrong than usual for some reason. So yeah, I know exactly what you're feeling there. Let's see if there's any more comments. A rich simp will 100% marry her. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of guy I see her with. I think she's ruined her chances of being with anyone who has value at this point, because she's imprinted this degenerate life onto herself, unfortunately.
What is your faith calling you to do when it comes to your career?
My faith calling me to do when
Is it calling you to stop doing adult content?
I think it's just telling me to do the best I can with what I have.
Is that what God is telling you to do?
Are you a Christian or Catholic?
I'm a man.
Look, she's batting the question. She's trying to change the subject. I know what she is thinking, and she's thinking, yeah, whenever I pray, God tells me not to do this anymore because of the guilt I feel. I know she's feeling that way, but she won't admit it on camera because she's not ready yet. She's not reached that point yet where she is ready to quit. And I think that's just her own wants and her desires, and her her want for money is taking over there. And she's trying to ignore God and God's message, which is very clear from the guilt she would feel. I know she feels guilty. I can see it. I can literally feel the guilt.
Of God, let's just say. But like, I'm having difficulty, and perhaps you can help me with this, reconciling being Catholic, but also doing adult content.
I just think we're in a broken world, and I was kind of born into that, and You
were born into what?
We were all born into a world of just like...
Of sin?
Of sin, of, media selling like sex, and I think I'm just kind of a product of that.
So...
Yeah, that's true. We're all born into that world, but you have a choice. You've got a free will, and you can decide not to take part in it. I'm born into that world. I decided not to take part in it. You guys too, I think. Can't speak for you, but I believe that too. Like, everyone's got a choice. We all have free will. And God has literally written us a rule book and a guide for life that clearly highlights what is wrong and what is right. And we can read that, even read parts of it, and we'll just know not to do certain things. So her saying that she's a product of the world, that's just really sad. And it just shows that she hasn't read the Bible, because otherwise she wouldn't be saying that.
What do you mean you're a product of it? Like you were forced to do this?
No, I'm just a product of my surroundings as I grew up. And
where did you grow up?
Texas.
Texas?
But you can say that a lot of people were raised on Hollywood and media because we were throwing screens in front of our faces. And I think that that influenced me a lot as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you're not wrong. You're not wrong that there's like a societal push to, okay, all right, good times.
Yeah, there is a societal push. I grew up with that too. We all grew up with it. Anyone who had the internet grew up with that. But yeah, you can be influenced as a child, but as an adult, you know better. And if you've read the Bible, you will know better. You will know not to fall in sin just because other people are doing it. And she's just using other people's behavior as an excuse for her own. It's just embarrassing.
Did you have more?
What was your question exactly?
Well, you said you're Catholic, right? So I'm thinking it's probably looked down upon within the faith to be engaged in sex work. So how do you reconcile?
Yeah, I don't expect any Christian or Catholic to associate with me, but
doing sex work?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have our,
She's so embarrassed. I know she is. I can feel it. And she's so guilty. There's like embarrassment and guilt radiating out of her. It's so, so sad. Why is she doing this to herself? You can remove yourself at any point. Why don't you just remove yourself from that life? But then I guess there is the lasting impact because it's, online forever, I'm guessing. But still, you can still remove yourself from it and not do it anymore. You can literally draw a line and say, I'm not doing it from this moment on ever again, and I'm going to repent for it before. That's, you can remove yourself. Why are you putting yourself through this embarrassment and guilt?
Things we do.
You're a good businesswoman. I see it as like the equivalent of being like a drug dealer or something. Also, like, look at Kim Kardashian. Like, where do you think her fame came from?
Yeah, she did a sex tape.
Yeah. But
do you think that that's something people should engage in order to
I'm not telling anyone, you should live like me, but it's just what's been working for me, and
sure.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
How much
that was very painful to watch. Oh my goodness, that was actually really sad. So yeah, that's the thing. Perhaps it's just a front, but she does seem innocent and sweet. Makes it all the more confusing that this is what she does. Exactly. It's so confusing. Like, why? You have so many options. Like, your beauty can take you places, and you don't need to show your genitals for that to happen, or have sex on camera and post it all over the internet. You don't need that. I don't know why you think you need that. What's her name? Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you're watching this, come on, fix up. Listen to what God is saying to you. Whenever you pray, I know you feel guilt. And I know that when you're doing the act and committing this sin, you feel intense guilt. I know you do. And if you have a true relationship with God, you need to pray harder and actually pray on the issues that you are going through in life and ask God, do you really want me to do this, God? And you will hear an answer. And it won't be empowering you to do this and to carry on with this line of work. You don't need to do it. You have so many options. Leave now. Make the choice today to better yourself and to stop with this sinful life, because I can see that you have innocence radiating out of you, and you are destroying it. You are literally destroying it, and you don't need to do that. I can feel the guilt as well. Remove yourself from that life. Anyway, I hope she watches this, because you need to know you don't need to do this. Anyway, now I'm just trying to save her. I want her to be saved. Okay, guys, so next video is called, Is This Why Young People Are Collapsing? And it is a Russell Brand video. I love Russell Brand. Well, I don't fully trust him because I don't fully trust anyone, but I love his videos because they seem to be very informative, and he gives, multiple sides to a story, which I like. And yeah, I agree with many of his views. So let's just watch this.
Excess deaths, sudden death syndrome. If this were real and not a conspiracy theory, surely we would have footage demonstrating that an alarming number of people just dropped down dead and collapsed out of nowhere. Oh, we do have that footage. Let's have a look at it. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on our voyage to truth and freedom. It is a voyage where we will use many utensils and tools, such as video footage of people suddenly collapsing for no reason in sporting events, on the news. Yep. All of a sudden, we now know, as a result of the release of insurance premium figures, that excess deaths in America are beyond even the peak of the pandemic, even though the pandemic is over. We are aware now that in the first 9 months of 2023, I can't believe that this is true, but it is, that as many young Americans died as died in all the American wars from Vietnam to present day. And the only reason that we know this information is because insurance companies have reported on it. Let's have a look at a compilation of footage of people dropping dead, collapsing, falling over, often curiously and with hideous schadenfreude when talking about the efficacy of a certain little medication.
I don't mean to brag, but I want you to know, double vaxxed, booster, never got COVID, clearly, Jesus loves me the most. Seriously. So nice, so nice.
I still find that one pretty disturbing. Of course, we were all subject to an enormous propaganda campaign that was completely immersive, plainly coordinated, so it's no wonder that many people felt that they were making a moral and ethical choice by taking those medications. Indeed, that's the way that it was presented, in spite of a complete lack of clinical evidence that those medications were effective in stopping transmission. Quite the opposite, as a matter of fact.
Comedian Heather McDonald collapsed over the weekend during a show.
Management saying she suffered a skull fracture in the fall.
The CDC has confirmed
higher than normal cases
of heart inflammation in 16 to 24-year-olds.
This is so sad. There's actually been newspapers reporting on this now, like mainstream newspapers. I can't remember what they were, but reporting on it, saying that the vaccine. No, I just said the word, guys. I just said the word. Oh no. Okay, that might get me removed. Okay, how do I? Okay, let me just try and go back. There have been newspapers reporting on the fact that the injection that was given to the public in the past few years is causing, or not is causing, but has extreme links to all of the heart issues that we're seeing, which are so prevalent nowadays. Seems like everyone's suffering with heart issues right now. And yeah, there have been peer-reviewed scientific studies done now showing that the thing is linked to the heart issues that we're seeing. So that's no surprise that so many people are having heart issues, because most of the public worldwide got the thing. So of course we're seeing an increase of it. And yeah, people are collapsing and having heart issues. It's really, really, really sad. Literally millions of deaths have been caused by it now. And the underestimate is about, I forgot. I think it was like millions and millions and millions. Next episode, I'm going to say the exact figure, because there is an exact figure.
Service members later developed myocarditis.
You take all of the vaccines since 2010 and you compare 2021, this thing blows through the roof.
Experts say more and more younger women are suffering from stroke.
Sorry, Airman, I'm not feeling very well right now.
80% of the cases have been in young boys.
One of the decisions that we were invited to make during this period was to sacrifice our own health and our own freedom in order to preserve the sanctity of life of other members of our community, in particular the vulnerable, which is a principle, of course, that anybody would support, which is why that principle was continually amplified. But now
Shane Nolan said 18 million total dead. Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's actually higher now though. So I think that was the figure a few months ago, and I think by now it has gone up. So yeah, but it's over 18 million, guys. That is sick, and it's basically, I'm not going to say it because it might get me removed and I might get called anti-Semitic for saying it, but it's a silent H word. And the fact people aren't even talking about it is so sad. And people are scared to talk about it because they want to carry on this narrative of it's good for you and it's safe and effective, because they're in denial and don't want to admit that they could have just literally ended their lives early.
We are beginning to see that what played out is that young people were invited to make a sacrifice way beyond taking a medication to protect older people. It was a sacrifice that was going to literally impact them. Certainly the information around myocarditis and pericarditis suggests that, as well as new available information around sudden death syndrome and the excess deaths in the United States of America, as well as the over 1 million reported adverse events from taking the vaccines.
The 14-year-old's heart stopped.
A 15-year-old boy died
After receiving his first dose,
16-year-old was rushed to the hospital. Loved ones say the 17-year-old's heart stopped.
The elite runner was rushed to the hospital after suffering a heart
high
attack.
school football player has died.
I think we live in a culture now of technocracy. Technocracy is governance by experts. Of course, it has components of digital dictatorship. But the reason I want to focus on this experts component is, do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, or when you first saw people collapsing on sports fields, thinking, this seems a bit weird, this is not usual? And then the media reported, there's always been a number of sudden deaths. You saw that. You saw them trying to shut that down. You saw them try to frame it as potentially results of long COVID. You saw the incredible efforts that legacy media outfits went to mitigate, control, dampen down naturally emergent concern. I'm starting to think that our own common sense, our intuition and understanding is not as valuable as the information that could be granted by a NASA scientist when it comes to building a rocket, or an expert in agriculture when it comes to the cycles and expertise required to grow crops. But when it comes to a general understanding of reality, I think we are able to use common sense and intuition, personal understanding, communication between one another to establish narratives that seem perfectly plausible. For example, the idea that introducing a vaccine during a pandemic that couldn't possibly have been trialled for long-term effects because they hadn't had a long time to trial it all seemed pretty obvious to us. Increasingly, I'm noticing how common sense is being dismissed precisely because elites, as the word suggests, don't like ordinary people, see themselves as separate from ordinary people. In fact, you can't make any arguments for censorship and controlling hate speech without saying, first of all, we have an understanding of what should be communicated that you will never understand. That is already a step towards technocracy, dictatorship, an assumption that you are not in the role of an autonomous adult, you are in the role of a subject, a kind of servile child whose food has to be inspected and chewed before given to you. That is a dynamic that I reject, and I think increasingly we're right to reject that dynamic because so many things that we sort of collectively felt together have proven to be true over time. Hey, what if these measures are somehow beneficial to establishment interests and generate profits while enabling them to introduce regulation that controls the lives of ordinary people seemingly legitimately and for our own safety? What if that's what's behind this? Well, I suppose then you'd start seeing footage of people dropping dead on sports fields. Well, here is that footage.
Exactly. This is very sad to me. I have extreme anger for this. I was actually on a BBC documentary called Unvaccinated. I don't know if you understood what I just said, but basically but like not so and that's what it was called. It was a BBC Two documentary, and I went on it, and it was basically Big Brother, but for people who didn't take the thing. And it had like experts coming in to try and like change our minds. And then by the end of it, they took us to a center where you can get the thing. And then they said to us, so do you want to take it then? And then we were like, no. And nobody said yes. And I think a big reason for this was because I had so many statistics, because there were some people in there who were, quite open, and they were like, I might change my mind by the end of it. And to me, I was like, absolutely not. So I had all these stats, and I was like trying to reverse sort of the brainwashing that these experts were trying to do when they were coming in to try and change people's minds. And I was like showing them the stats and saying, look, this is the stats for this, and it can cause this, and all of these side effects have been listed, so don't take it. Make sure you don't take it. This is really, really crazy. Like, you might injure yourself or kill yourself. And they didn't take it by the end of it, and it was amazing. And I was like, oh my gosh. But they did try and like stitch me up, and they tried to they removed all of my science. Like, I had so many stats. Like I said, I had a whole notebook of stats. Literally, like, every page was full of stats and things I can say and all sorts of stuff, science, studies, whatever. And I had so many things to say on camera, and they removed most of it because obviously they didn't want to keep that there. And yeah, it was crazy. It was so traumatic. I'm not going to lie, because I was literally face to face with true evil. There are evil people in there who wanted to literally kill the public by broadcasting absolute lies. And some of them knew it was a lie as well. Like, I literally spoke to some people who were part of the crew, and they were like agreeing with us and saying that they have not had it. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So this is just like pure evil, because they were taking part in filming this propaganda documentary in order to literally brainwash the public. So it was crazy. And yeah, that's just also, this thing, I believe, is what killed my great grandmother. So I have extreme emotions when it comes to it. So when I watch things like this, I just literally feel like crying.
Collapsing in the middle of the game.
Collapsing during the game.
Collapsing on the tennis court.
Suddenly collapsing.
The player
collapsed and died.
After collapsing.
He collapsed.
It seems that there's a second player who's collapsed.
This is unusual.
Never seen anything like this. Yeah, what's going on?
Sharp rise in unexplained deaths during the pandemic.
The number of deaths with unknown causes has gone up over the last 3 years.
Deaths that are not listed as COVID related.
I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy.
Healthy young people are dying suddenly from a mysterious syndrome.
Sudden adult death syndrome.
SADS is an umbrella term to describe unexpected deaths in young people.
There is some evidence that some sort of delayed reaction to COVID.
Why would the legacy media not investigate this with the same vigour that they've applied to a variety of other subjects that appear to enhance their ability to control dissenting voices and shut down counter-narratives? Why is there a demand for censorship to be enshrined in law from the EU to Ireland to the United Kingdom to the United States of America to Canada? Why has it become so important to control information when the ability to create content like this has just become global and worldwide? It's precisely because information like this, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that all of those athletes died or that all of those athletes were suffering as a result of particular medications, but the data is available now. Excess deaths are rising. The life expectancy in the United States of America is falling, and it isn't because of COVID. Comparable figures are available in the United Kingdom, and once again, the same is true. Sudden deaths, unexpected deaths, excess deaths, all rising, and it isn't because of COVID. Curiously, there is a total lack of appetite to investigate this, even though it seems like there's ample evidence to warrant an investigation. Health agencies are not investigating it. Legacy media organisations are not investigating it. Elsewhere, we've reported on the kind of relationships that exist between big pharma and cable news media, who receive the vast majority of their funding, not only from big pharma, but specifically from Pfizer, just one organisation. Have you ever seen Albert Bourla contend with a single difficult question, except for when he was chased by Rebel News through the snowy streets of Davos? Of course you haven't. You've just seen him in puff piece after puff piece. Independent media is vital because it allows these questions to be asked. Were it not for the valuable voices in this space, you wouldn't have a COVID inquiry in the UK. You wouldn't have any dissent at all. You wouldn't have no uptake for the latest COVID booster shots, because none of this information would be available. I'm not saying that just because I am an independent media figure, even though I personally know the level of attacks that are likely if you put yourself in a position of dissent. I know it. I know it personally. I'm just one voice in an increasingly powerful space. But the real power is with you, your independent thought, your ability to choose. That's what they are trying to shut down and control. They do not want an awakened dissenting population investigating the high levels of corruption in their own state, in their own media, and in particular in globalist, corporatist agencies and financial entities. Because if people become aware to that, we will oppose it. They won't be able to control and regulate a population that is mistrustful of its media, its judiciary, its law enforcement agencies, and in particular the establishment interests that appear to be able to coordinate all of them. You've just seen with your own eyes sufficient evidence to warrant a serious investigation into the impact of the pandemic era, distinct and separate from the impact of COVID itself, whether that's as a result of the rise of heart disease, or people taking their own lives, or mental health, or the collapse of small businesses, or the impact on children's education, and certainly, and perhaps most importantly, the possible impact of certain medical interventions that were highly propagandized, the message of which was amplified, questions weren't asked, dissent was shut down, legitimate experts were shamed and smeared and shut down, and dissenting voices were attacked. This is time for a global reckoning. Let's ensure that 2024 isn't like 2023, a year where ordinary people's views were repressed so that establishment power could be continually magnified. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the chat? Remember, we stream from this date at these times. You will love our content. We're coming back with some fantastic guests and some fantastic, powerful stories. In the meantime, if you can, stay free.
Hey.
Yeah. Just heartbreaking, isn't it? Really heartbreaking. And I do believe that one day this is going to be known as one of the biggest medical scandals in history, and it's going to be in history books, because you can't hide this forever. This will not be hidden forever. It will be like the thalidomide scandal, where they gave medication to pregnant women in order to stop their morning sickness, and then they literally birthed children that were completely deformed and had missing limbs. And nowadays that's known as like one of the biggest medical scandals in history. That only affected literally, I can't remember how many, but probably a few hundred or a few thousand babies. So this has literally killed, not just injured, killed millions. So this is going to be known as the biggest medical scandal in history. I do believe that, and I can't wait for it to be recognized as that, because I've seen it this entire time, and it has been torture not being able to be taken seriously when I literally am going on TV saying, look, this is actually a culling of people. It's a culling, and you're allowing it to happen. Can you please wake up and see that people are literally being slaughtered with this, and it's a silent slaughtering. And the newspaper articles that came out ridiculing me were crazy, like. But yeah, anyway, that ended on a bit of a sad note. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about first of all OnlyFans, and that poor girl who seemed so innocent yet had a life filled with such sin and sadness and darkness. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about degeneracy and the things we're seeing in society nowadays, especially in young people. And also let me know what you think about this video that I've just watched. Why are young people collapsing, and how long do you think it will take before the truth comes out? But yeah, it's been really, really fun doing this, and you guys have been great. Really, really enjoy when you comment and let me know what you think whilst I'm literally recording, so I can actually react to things you're saying as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content.